little on the line in this fight, but I've got high hopes for this one because it's Armenia against Georgia. It's up at 86 kilos. These are two big men who are not, I don't think, going to have to go looking for each other. Kushitashvili, very experienced international amateur, boxed at the World Championships in 2019 and in 2023. A gold medalist at the Europeans in Armenia in 2022, a bronze at the World Championships in Tashkent, and a Paris Olympian. He's done a lot. 2-0 as a pro.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome his opponent representing Armenia. It's Artush Hovhannisyan.
We've seen Hovhannisyan on an IBA Champions night before. That was back in April in Almaty in Kazakhstan. He won on that night. That was at 80 kilos though, so this is a little bit of a jump up, an extra 6 kilos in old money. That's very nearly a stone, so that is not insignificant. He has been at that weight up until this point. Maybe he felt that he needed the extra poundage. He'll be fresher, he'll be stronger, he'll have more energy. We will find out tonight. He had a pretty extensive amateur career as well. He's got a few more fights on his record as a pro. But again, I'd like the look of this matchup. I have done right from the very start, and it was interesting to see these two around each other yesterday. They get on fire.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is IBA Champions Night Dubai, presented to you by IBA President Mr. Umar Kremlov, and this contest is 8 rounds of boxing in the 86 kilogram weight division. Your officials are judges from Russia, Sergei Zhurkin, from Moldova, Valery Pastuhov, and from Estonia, Yakov Peterson. Your referee in charge of the action is from Italy, Mr. Luca Vadilonga. And now, ladies and gentlemen, as these are both unbeaten fighters, somebody's unbeaten record must go. Introducing to you first, fighting out of the black corner, weighing in at 86 kilograms. He comes to the ring unbeaten as a professional with a 100% knockout ratio. 2 wins, both by knockout. He comes to us from Tbilisi, Georgia. Please welcome Georgii Django Kushitashvili. And now please welcome his opponent who fights out of the gold corner, who weighed in at 84.75 kilograms. He is also undefeated as a professional with 6 wins against no losses. 5 of his 6 wins come by way of knockout. He comes to us from Rutov, Russia, by way of Vandazor, Armenia. Please welcome Artush Hovhannisyan.
Okay, guys, watch your head, no punches back, no low blow, no holding, listen always my command, touch your gloves, and good luck.
Luca Vadilonga, our referee. There's the tail of the tape for these two. Not much in it in terms of height, in terms of weight there. As I mentioned, Hovhannisyan has been down at 80 kilos, so he had a little bit of room there, pushing up towards 86. No great surprise, whereas Kushitashvili was bang on that limit. They both look lean, they both look in good shape. Hovhannisyan.
Round 1.
In the white, Kushitashvili in the black. Just switching stances early on there, Hovhannisyan started off orthodox, now into southpaw. Little bit bit of a standoff early on, and then he just steps in behind that right hand there, Kushitashvili. The feet crossed a little bit. It seemed slightly clumsy as he came forward, but he committed to it. Good upper body movement there from Hovhannisyan, dipping those knees and getting nice and low, then just stepping off, steps back into the orthodox stance, seems capable of shifting between those two fairly comfortably. A little uppercut up the centre there from him, landed, there wasn't a great deal on it, and then Kushitashvili stepping in, trying to chop down with the right hand. Left hand into a body from Kushitashvili, missed with the right, but it left him in exactly the right position just to send that left into the ribcage. And again, just when he backs up and takes a step back, that's when he'll look to change his feet. Hovhannisyan, Kushitashvili again with another decent body shot there. It's interesting when you see a fighter switch with regularity. I always wonder myself how helpful that is to them, because it doesn't really give him too much of a chance to settle. Just backed up into his own corner there, Hovhannisyan, and slipping and bobbing and weaving nicely, managed to stay out of trouble. Kushitashvili trying to come in behind the jab, just over a minute remaining in round one. Not a great deal hugely clean has landed, but the cleaner punches have been those body shots from Kushitashvili. Those are the ones that have caught the eye, or certainly caught the ear, as they've echoed around ringside. Stepping in behind that left hook again there, Kushitashvili. Reddening on the nose there of Hovhannisyan, but without wishing to be unkind, I would say that's probably a pretty regular occurrence for him. Kushitashvili just feinted with the front foot, didn't really draw anything from Hovhannisyan. He's looked well organised, he's looked like he's got some technical skills, but in this opening round, although he's trying to get on the front foot here, hasn't really done all that much at times. Kushitashvili, of the two, looks a bit less refined in terms of his technique, but he's the one who has committed more, and for that reason may have just nicked that opening.
Kushitashvili, the busier of the two boxers for my money during the course of the opening round, and he enjoyed some notable successes, particularly with his left hook to the body. Hovhannisyan switching stances fairly frequently, did get onto the front foot just before the 10-second clapper sounds, but there, punctuating that combination that he set up with a double jab, right hand upstairs, and then left hook to the body. Successes for Kushitashvili, keeping cool under fire when backed into his own corner. The gold corner was Hovhannisyan, but aside of that front foot foray, just at around the 15 seconds to go mark, I think Kushitashvili's presence and punch output would have been enough to give him that opening round. That's just how I see it from our commentary position here ringside, but no panic in the demeanor or body language of Artush Hovhannisyan. But he's probably going to have to pick up the pace a little bit as we go into the second round.
They're scheduled for 8, so plenty of time for the pair of them. Kushitashvili, his 2 professional fights so far have yielded just 6 rounds. Hovhannisyan's 6, 19 rounds. They're both experienced at elite international amateur level, but this is a new experience for them. Been scheduled over this kind of distance, let alone going that distance. But he started much more aggressively at the beginning of the second round here, Hovhannisyan. Kushitashvili trying to come in behind the left hook. Hovhannisyan is going after him a little bit here. Sets his feet square, which allows him really to punch himself into either stance. If he leads off with the right hand, then the right foot will come forward, and same on the other side. Looking for the uppercut there, Kushitashvili with that left of the body, and then a chopping down right hand. That was a good shot. Just planted his feet and let that one go. But a lively start to the second, a minute in. Looking for the uppercut as he got up close there. Hovhannisyan hasn't quite managed to thread it through just yet. Kushitashvili steps in, and when he does step in, he means it. Sometimes he knows he's not quite in range, but he'll chase that right hand in anyway. The weight will come in behind it. Good example there, that feet cross. It's not really what the coaching manual would recommend, but it's the best thing to do if you feel that weight just coming over the top of the front foot. Then you can't get those punches back. The best of just completely committing to it. Hovhannisyan on the inside there. Again, looking for that uppercut, just pulling down on the back of his opponent's head, and you could see from where we were sitting exactly what he was trying to do there, but he just couldn't quite land it. But he's been a lot busier in this second round. I think he probably realised that he got outworked, out-hustled a bit in the first, and he wasn't about to let that happen again. Right hand into the body there from Hovhannisyan. Just backs up deep into the final minute. That's the combination for Kushitashvili. It's that left hand to the body, right hand, or right hand up top, followed by the left to the body. You can throw it either which way, really. Looking for that long right, didn't quite get there. Hovhannisyan, well, his punch output has dipped a bit in the final minute of the round. The right hand there from Kushitashvili did make it to the target, but only just about. So he went off quick here in this second round, Hovhannisyan. I wouldn't say he had any hugely notable successes in terms of big shots landed, but he's worked hard, much harder in the second than he did in the first.
Artush Hovhannisyan listening to the instructions of his corner and showing his experience as an undefeated professional, 6 fights into his career. Picked up the pace after probably being outworked over the course of the first 3 minutes, continuing to switch stances. There you see the exchange of lead jabs, but it was Kushitashvili who was able to keep the attack going. Some successes on the inside with the uppercuts from both hands for Hovhannisyan. But then his punch output just dipped a little bit in the final 40 seconds or so of round number 2. This man sought to come on strong and landed a couple of long right crosses from way across the other side of the ring. So just capitalizing when the punch output of Hovhannisyan dropped. But again, what's notable from both in the respective corners is the calmness, both from the coaches and from them, and that testament to the experience that they've acquired in IBA tournament boxing all over the world. Into the third.
And again, just straight into that left hand there, Kushitashvili. The right glove of Hovhannisyan was up where it needed to be. He dips off to his right, starting out southpaw, and again looks to try and find that gap. Kushitashvili has started quick. Right hand lead, finds the target. And the tempo here is going to be really interesting because, as I mentioned, they haven't boxed that many rounds between them as pros, and this has been scheduled for 8. And they look evenly matched. So the chances are here that this is going to go deep. Good left hand there from Hovhannisyan. And how will they stand up to that? Because particularly from the second round onwards, the pace has been high, and it continues to be high at the start of the third here. Just kind of shimmies his way in there, Kushitashvili. Again, he's looking for the uppercut there, Hovhannisyan. He obviously feels like it's on, and I can understand why, because Kushitashvili steps in with another good raiding mission there and lands a left to the body. He does tend to get the weight pretty heavily on the front foot. That head is in the bucket, as we describe it every now and again, and the uppercut makes sense. But it's Kushitashvili there who manages to get through with the uppercut. Right hand on the inside, and this is a bit messy in the third round at times, but in the midst of this tangle of limbs on occasions, it's Kushitashvili who every now and again is getting through with a decent looking shot. Heading into the final minute of round 3. Now he's looking for that right hand lead, and he was short with it, and that weight came forward, and Hovhannisyan had given ground, and he'd given a bit too much because he was out of range by the time that happened. Maybe the Key for him here, Hovhannisyan, is when he sees his man coming, rather than just pull those feet all the way back out, take that half step back, because he may well be able to catch Kushitashvili falling in, as we describe it. Because he does have the tendency to do that, but Hovhannisyan, if he's going to take advantage of that, it's got to be just a little bit more comfortable staying in that pocket a bit longer. Trying to whip off with the lead left hook there, Hovhannisyan doesn't quite manage to land it. It's interesting the way he delivers his punches, Hovhannisyan. He's got this big wingspan, he's got a long reach, and the gloves kind of flash and scythe, but often they're not really landing, whereas, as we've been saying, Kushitashvili has got that more kind of workman-like look to him, but he lands more shots.
Again, he was searching repeatedly for success with that backhand in the form of a cross. To your point, Andy, Hovhannisyan, despite the albatross-like wingspan that he possesses, was repeatedly going in search of that shot right there, the right uppercut. There was one moment in a round, he fired off about 4 or 5 in a row, couldn't find a range with any of them. And remember, these are 86-kilogram boxers. It's a fair amount to be lugging around the ring, and it is far more fatiguing to be hitting the stadium air than to be landing on leather, on flesh and bone. But Hovhannisyan, far more accurate for my money with his own right hand. Excuse me, Kushitashvili far more accurate with his own right cross. Hovhannisyan showing cameos of what he can do, but the impression that I had in that third round is that this man, Kushitashvili, just having the greater number of moments of quality.
I'd agree with that. I think when you look at the two of them technically, Kushitashvili does make mistakes, but he generally punches within the framework of his body. He keeps it slightly simpler. Hovhannisyan has got good feet, he's got some good upper body movement, but a lot of what he throws is quite extravagant and it's not really landing. Good right hand to the body there from Kushitashvili. You can hear that one land, and then whilst he was in there, he just let 2 or 3 more go. I don't think they really got through, but again, it's a good simple attack that he's set himself up with there. We're into round 4 here. They're scheduled for 8, 86 kilos. Cruiserweight. Artush Hovhannisyan is in the white. Georgii Kushitashvili is in the black. And again, he comes leaping in with that big 1-2, and that's the kind of situation I was talking about in the previous round. He really commits to it, and you can see Hovhannisyan sees it coming. It's not hard to see it coming, and he'll pull those feet all the way back out. But if he just holds his ground a little bit more, lets him come, he can maybe pick him off on the way in, and if he can do that, he can do some damage, because as he's coming forward there, Kushitashvili, he's got no control over his momentum, and if he comes onto something, he can sit him down. Good left hand there from Hovhannisyan as Kushitashvili just rebounded off the ropes. There's a cut on the corner of the right eye there of Hovhannisyan. Some blood coming from that. I don't know if that was a punch or a head clash. Either way, it doesn't look too serious, and it's running clear of the eye, so you wouldn't anticipate that being a big problem. Good right hand into the body there from Hovhannisyan. Heading towards the final minute of round 4. Comes back with a left hand there, Hovhannisyan. Good right hand on the inside there from Kushitashvili. He just rolled off to his right there, Hovhannisyan, and when he came up, unfortunately for him, he rolled straight onto that right hand, and he's been forced to really dig in here, Hovhannisyan. Kushitashvili has pinned him in the corner, and he's looking to drive him back, and Hovhannisyan, increasingly in this round, is wearing the look of a man who's having to work very, very hard to keep his opponent off him. This is getting tough for him here, and again, it's those extravagant shots. Some of those uppercuts are delivered from almost down by his boots, and as Ron was mentioning, you heave one of them in and you don't land it, and that's going to take something out of the tank. They're both feeling it a bit, but to different extents. I'd say Kushitashvili is coping with it better so far, and again, just gets his feet in there and lets them go, lets those hands go. Final few seconds of round 4, a little bit of swelling underneath the left eye there, I think, of Kushitashvili. But he's had a good round here, the Georgian.
Well, Well, that was a really interesting round, an incident-filled round, as Kushitashvili, you see on his shaven head, the blood from the right eye injury inflicted by, not quite sure whether it was head or his fist, but it's sustained by Artush Hovhannisyan, and the corner really having to go to work to try and staunch the flow of blood. But that replay that we just saw with Kushitashvili sitting on the ropes, that came with about 1:40 remaining in the round, and Hovhannisyan had his best portion of the round when he was able to back up Kushitashvili to the ropes and have his successes. But then Kushitashvili got himself off the ropes. It was around that period of the round where Hovhannisyan suffered the cut, and Kushitashvili was able to get on the front foot and really have successes, for my money, at the expense of Hovhannisyan, who was dealing with the adversity of the cut. He's going to be aware of that, perhaps not wanting it to worsen, but I think that was a very good round for Georgii Kushitashvili.
Round
How
5.
bothered will Hovhannisyan be by that cut right optic he sustained in round number 4?
Well, the corner we're getting to work on it in that minute between rounds. We'll have to see how it holds up, and you can see the end swell out in Kushitashvili's corner as well, just trying to keep that swelling under the left eye under control. As I said, they are both feeling the pace here, but I think Hovhannisyan is feeling it more into the second half of this, scheduled for 8, and we're heading into uncharted territory, really, and it's been boxed at a good tempo for both of these two, and without wishing to sound like too much of a sadist, I think this is going to get very interesting in the second half, because they're both going to have to really, really dig in if they're going to keep that foothold in the fight. And interestingly, in the first minute of round 5, it's almost like they both agreed to just take a little bit of a breather, because neither one has really made too much of a move in this round so far. They're both just looking more than they have done previously to keep it more on the outside and work those lead hands. And you see this in a fight sometimes, in a hard fight, when you know that there's a few rounds remaining, there's almost this tacit agreement between fighters that this is what they're going to do. And these kinds of rounds can be absolutely critical, can't they, Ron? Because if they're stepping off and not getting as stuck in as they have been previously, someone's still got to win the round. Looking for that right hand again there, Kushitashvili. Hovhannisyan just swaying, dipping, rolling to his right, to his left, and again, that's a tiring way to fight. That kind of lateral movement will take energy out of you, but that's the way he goes about it. Kushitashvili just trying to bring a bit more heat to him. And heading into the final minute of the round, this is up for grabs. If one of them can just up the tempo slightly, they can take this one without having taken too much energy out of their own tank, and it looks like Kushitashvili could be the one capable of that. He was trying to just stay out of the way, backed up to the neutral corner there, Hovhannisyan. I think he did a decent enough job of it, but that kind of visual for the judges in the tight round is those kinds of flurries that can get you over the line if you're the one on the front foot more. Just dips his knees and throws a right hand into the body there, Kushitashvili. Again, he climbs into that right hand, Kushitashvili. He didn't land it. Hovhannisyan was able to stay out of the way of it. I would just love to see him when that attack is launched, that kind of attack. Just a half step back, just hold his ground that little bit more and try and time him on the way in, because he's got good boxing skills, Hovhannisyan. He doesn't need to... He's not running in that situation. He's doing a sensible thing, but retreating to a super safe distance. It doesn't give him that opportunity to counter a fighter who's coming over the top of the front foot and losing his balance, basically.
Well, as you pointed out, Andy, it was a little bit of a slower start to begin that 6th round. But then, for my money, it was Kushitashvili who sought to seize the initiative. Flashing right hand success there for Hovhannisyan out of the southpaw stance. But there was a moment in the round when Kushitashvili did get onto the front foot. He backed up Hovhannisyan to the neutral corner on the far side of the ring, and he had tried to employ the Philly shell defense. We've seen more of his successes during the replay sequence, but his frame is so big and so long that it left plenty of openings upon which Kushitashvili was able to capitalize. To say both boxers feeling the pace, but I think in the event that they're both fatigued to the same extent, Kushitashvili disguising his fatigue better. And there were moments in that round, for my money, when Hovhannisyan was just beginning to lose his shape a little more than the man from Georgia.
When you look at these two stylistically, Kushitashvili, as we've been saying, has got that simpler kind of technique, a technique that quite simply takes less energy out of you. Hovhannisyan is quite extravagant in his movement, in the lateral movement, the upper body movement, but also with the way that he delivers his punches. It asks a lot of you physically, and as you head down the stretch, that can make a difference. Into round 6 here, Kushitashvili just picking with the jab, trying to keep that guard nice and high and nice and tight. Seats just filling up at ringside all the time here at the agenda in Dubai, this IBA Champions Night. 16 fighters from 16 different countries. We've seen some really good action already. But again, in round 6 here, there's not a tremendous amount going on early on. And in these kinds of rounds, as I was saying previously, you've got to try and make your mark, and if you basically stand off each other and turn it into a 1-minute sprint at the end because not too much has happened in the previous 2 minutes, then you've got to get involved in that sprint, otherwise you're just going to drop the round. Hovhannisyan looking to get more on the front foot there as he's got Kushitashvili into the corner. He's got to try and let his hands go a little bit more here, I think, the Armenian. Kushitashvili steps out of the corner and just walks him back midway through round 6. 1-2 there from Hovhannisyan, and then turns neatly around the front foot, but he needed to go again there, really. As we head towards the final minute, there's not, again, much in this, but like the previous round, one of them will make a move, you would thought, to try and win the round in that final 60 seconds. It was Kushitashvili who did it last time out. Hovhannisyan needs to get this one, I would say, because he's slipping behind here to an extent where he could need something pretty spectacular in the final 2 rounds. That's just how I'm seeing it from my seat here at ringside. Right hand into the body there from Kushitashvili. Followed it up with a left, and in the final 30 seconds, if he can back him up to the corner now in almost exactly the same fashion as he did in the previous round, but Hovhannisyan does better there, just coming off the ropes, landed that right uppercut. Closing stages, 2 more rounds to come after this. One right hand there from Kushitashvili. Hovhannisyan managed to ride it. Pull those feet back out as the bell goes.
Really interesting round, I thought. Artush Hovhannisyan. It was a fantastic response, because as Mike was suggesting, as we're seeing, Shannon the Cannon Briggs, former heavyweight champion of the world out of Brownsville, Brooklyn in New York, shadow boxing nicely. Fantastic shake. Look at him, y'all, as he's fond of saying. But I thought Artush Hovhannisyan really made a point of getting on the front foot, and it was something he was able to sustain for around the first 2 minutes of the round. But then after that point, having worked as extensively as he did, he took a hard right hand when he was against the ropes, followed by a good body shot, and it was a really strong final minute of the round for my money for this man in the black corner, Georgii Kushitashvili. But credit to Hovhannisyan for trying to pick up the pace and increase the tempo for the first 2 minutes of the round. It just wasn't something that he was able to sustain for the entire 3 minutes of the round, and the final minute of that 6th round for my money was very strong indeed for the man from Georgia.
So into the 7th, 2 to go here. They're scheduled for 8 rounds at 86 kilos at cruiserweight. Artush Hovhannisyan of Armenia is in the white. Georgii Kushitashvili of Tbilisi, Georgia is in the black. Good right hand into the body there from Kushitashvili, and then a left just snuck in as well. Hovhannisyan trying to use that jab and catch him on the way, and that time he almost did it. He came marauding in there, Kushitashvili. Again, weight completely over the top of that front foot. He's blundering forward, really, and because the ropes were there, Hovhannisyan had to hold his ground that little bit more and almost managed to time him on the way in. Hovhannisyan just trying to stand his ground and throw that left hand. And he's just slowed those feet down here, Hovhannisyan. I think finally they have slowed down by themselves, and what it's meaning is that he's planting his feet a bit more, which could give him a bit more joy here, I think, if anything. Kushitashvili does employ that style himself. He's got quite heavy feet in comparison.
Step back, guys. Step back. Come on, hold it. Hey, come on.
And he has a method to suit. But they're both feeling the pace here. You can see that. You can see it on them in between rounds, in the middle between rounds, from about the end of round 3 onwards. To be honest, the referee has brought Hovhannisyan over here so the doctor can have a look at the cut, and he signalled to us at ringside that it was from a head clash, just banging those two fists together. Luke Hovhannisyan to tell us that that was a head clash, but the doctor didn't take too long to look at it. Good long right hand there from Kushitashvili, and that got Hovhannisyan's attention. Certainly, who's doing exactly what he did in the previous round, as Ron was describing. He's making a big effort here to get onto that front foot, to try and work hard, to try and push Kushitashvili back. But the problem he's having is that the more meaningful exchanges, the more eye-catching punches are coming from Kushitashvili. He landed a good right hand into the body there. Hovhannisyan continues to come forward here, looking for that right hand, follows it with the left, but as he's coming in, it's his opponent, whilst giving a little bit of ground, just managing to catch him. Uppercut there does get through from Hovhannisyan. To labour away to the body there, Kushitashvili. Hovhannisyan takes a big gulp of air and then gives ground to the ropes, and Kushitashvili, when he sees him do that, steps straight onto him. He walks onto a left hand, Kushitashvili, but he can sense when his man really is trying to nick a few seconds, if that, of rest, and he doesn't give him that opportunity. And again, the clapper goes, final few seconds of the round, and that round following a similar course to the previous one, really.
My goodness, you can see from the posture of Kushitashvili, I'm not sure, look at how he slumped onto his stool. I don't think the man's running on empty here, and it's his spirit that is keeping him in the contest. A really interesting 7th round of boxing. It was an incident-filled round with the referee, Mr. Luke Hovhannisyan, called for the inspection of the doctor to take a look at that right eye that was cut in round number 4. And after that interlude, Andy, I thought Hovhannisyan had perhaps his best portion of the entire contest. He was landing some hard singles, some hard combination shots, but then he paid a heavy price for that, because even though after that intermission, once he'd had his rally of success, there was very little left in the tank after that. He's retreating from corner to corner. As you pointed out in commentary, this man, Georgii Kushitashvili, sensed it and was on him like a rash, landing some heavy singles in feet planted in cement when the bell sounded to conclude round number 7, and he fairly slumped onto his stool. It's a good thing he was in that position, because had he had to walk back across the ring, I'm not sure he would have made it. Terrific conclusion to the round 5, Kushitashvili, and I think he's in front.
So into the 8th and final round here, and again, this has been a good fight to watch. It's been a good even match. Kushitashvili, for my money too, has got a decent lead here. I think we need to see something spectacular from Hovhannisyan, and it won't be for the lack of trying, because as I've been mentioning, this 8-round distance, this is new for this pair, as he just dabs at that eye, Hovhannisyan, and he's put absolutely everything into this. But I think what we're seeing here is a fighter who has got a style more suited to the longer duration than Kushitashvili, because he's more economical, he's more methodical, he doesn't waste as much energy with his movements. As I mentioned, he punches within the frame of his body, he gets his feet underneath him most of the time, let that long right hand go there. Hovhannisyan has got more of that elite amateur style where there's plenty of movement, he's up on his toes at times, there's a lot going on, upper body movement as well, and physically that's demanding. To do that for 3 rounds, very much doable, and he's done it with great effect at times. But here, it's proved difficult to employ that method for the duration of 8 rounds, for an 8-round fight. And he just tried to step on Kushitashvili there, and Kushitashvili just caught him with a left as he came in. midway through round 8. They both had long international amateur careers, and Kushitashvili had a lot of success. But it's just interesting that actually of the two, he has got less of what you might describe of an amateur style than his opponent. Hovhannisyan is having some success here, just stepping on Kushitashvili, but Kushitashvili sinking into the ropes, came back with the right hand. And Hovhannisyan, again, just set his feet that time and managed to get a couple away himself into the final minute. Terrific for both of these two. They're working tremendously hard right up until the final bell here, because they've been feeling this from quite an early stage. Hovhannisyan in particular walks onto an uppercut and then the right hand from Kushitashvili and just gives a little bit of ground here. Kushitashvili stepping on him now, just took a few seconds to have a look, and he's going to look to try and close this out strong here, the Georgian. Hovhannisyan hasn't got much left here at all. He's worked tremendously hard in these last few rounds to try and stay in this and keep himself in with a chance of landing something and turning this one around, because Kushitashvili just throws him off into that gold corner and looks to try and line up that right hand one more time. Does land it there, then goes the bell. Well, that was a pretty breathless 8 rounds again, wasn't it? And I think we're pretty confident we know who was going to emerge the winner here. Georgii Kushitashvili of Tbilisi has had the better of that contest. He's the man we're looking at there as the gum shield is removed. But I tip my hat to Artush Hovhannisyan over in the other corner, the gold corner, because he was on fumes, as you were describing. He was on empty from probably 3 rounds out there, maybe even a little bit longer than that, but he hung in there, kept throwing, kept giving himself a chance to turn things around. He hasn't quite managed to do it, but this has been an experience for the pair of them.
Most certainly, and the spirited rallies, as you just pointed out, that Hovhannisyan was able to produce, particularly in rounds 7 and 8, with just over a minute to go. Well, he asked some questions of this man, but Kushitashvili was able to withstand the rally and come again, whereas in round 7 and 8, this man, he wasn't able to. It was though it was his last roll of the dice. He put everything into those final rallies that he launched, showing his competitive spirit. It was his desire and his conditioning that kept him in the contest, but in the closing stages of round 7 and 8, well, this man was able to, having endured some comfortable, uncomfortable moments, get back on top and really pose some difficult questions of Artush Hovhannisyan. The man's passed the gut check. He's ended this 8-round contest on his feet. But I think when the verdict is announced, it is going to be Georgii Kushitashvili who will have his hand raised as the victor. But a spirited effort produced by both men in a contest where both of them explored the reserves and outer limits of their energy levels. But I think it's Kushitashvili with his more economical movement and his more efficient punch selection that will come out on top here. But Artush Hovhannisyan, he is one tough hombre. Cut in the 4th round. His team did a good job sustaining it, but his face began to swell.
Ladies and gentlemen, please show your appreciation for both boxers. After 8 rounds of boxing, we go to your judges' scorecards, where we have a unanimous decision in favor of your winner. In the black corner, representing Georgia, Georgii Django Kushitashvili.
So unanimous decision in favor of Georgii Kushitashvili. That's the 2nd win tonight out of 3 fights we've had in the black corner, which on IBA Pro nights is nominally the away corner, and I've seen plenty of those over the last few months, and that again is as a result of the matching. You look at these two going into it, they were undefeated as pros. Kushitashvili with a big amateur resume, and he deservedly got the win there, but as Ron was saying, that was some effort from Hovhannisyan. He will have found out plenty about himself tonight. His team will have found out plenty about him, as did we, and it's another example of, even though he's lost the fight there is a lot to take from it. He'll have learned an awful lot about how you're going to plot your way through an 8-round fight. There might be some modifications to come from him stylistically, but what they do know is that there's nothing wrong in the minerals department, because he was in trouble there from a way out, wasn't he, in terms of how exhausted he was. And we've both seen fighters stay on their stools in that situation, or take a body shot, go down to a knee and stay there, but there was never a hint that he was going to do that.
The resilience and determination that Hovhannisyan shown was commendable indeed, and those are the type of things that can't be coached. Those come from within. There's things that you walk into the gym with,